That song we just heard, Red Sea Road, is not one that I was familiar with, but when I saw that Maria and Christopher would be singing that right before my meditation, I looked up the lyrics. And I was struck by the songwriter's provocative phrase, I don't know if you heard it at the very beginning, that we buried our dreams, but we won't bury hope. And I wondered, how can our dreams lie dead in the ground, but hope remain alive? Hopes and dreams are words that we often pair together, inseparable, interchangeable. What are your hopes and dreams for the next 10 years? This song says that we lay our dreams in the grave and leave them lying deep in the earth behind us as we walk down the road that lies ahead of us, and that road is a Red Sea road, a seemingly impassable road that we can't see the way through, the way across. But God asks us to trust that God will part the waves, that we hold on to a hope that a way will be found, never walking alone, always with others, crossing on the Red Sea road. It made me wonder if maybe the difference between dreams and hope is where they come from. Our culture promotes the idea of following our dreams. There's an assumption that somewhere in our gut there are dreams that sometimes get released, that come to the level of consciousness, and paying attention to those is a good thing. Maybe they come to us while we sleep. A dream comes to us and we pay attention, or maybe we're wide awake out in nature or the arts or immersed in Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, as I was this afternoon. And sometimes we just get seized by a dream, a vision of some possible new thing, and we're drawn toward it. Now, if following your dream is the ultimate good, then a dream is really all you need. A clear vision, a motivational impulse, and you go for it, pursuing it with everything you have. But for us who confess Christ as sovereign, as Lord, there's another level of discernment that needs to happen before we start the chase. Before we follow dreams, we are also asked to follow Jesus. We're given a pattern for life from our Creator, not meaning at all that everything is laid out for us or that there is only and ever one right choice. No, the pattern is dynamic and it's rooted in love. There's always freedom to choose, to exercise that creative impulse that is the image of God in us. But we're not left on our own to figure out what our dream is. We are given a framework, as in Psalm 139 that we heard today. Our Creator shaped and formed us from our mother's womb. We were fearfully and wonderfully made. The psalmist said that God's eyes saw our unformed body, and all our days were ordained for us. So we say by faith there is a God of love and purpose behind all of this. When our dreams align with the purposes of God in creation, then they are no longer merely dreams, they become hope. Dreams that over time are openly examined and discerned and found to be part of God's intentions for us become hope. And we cannot bury hope. Dreams can emerge from all kinds of places: gut feelings, emotional highs, fleeting experiences, even cultural and material pressures. We talk about having a dream home or a dream vacation or a dream job. Of course, not all dreams are that way. They're not necessarily bad. We should pursue some of them, but not all our dreams can be achieved, and not all come from a place of God's best intention. Mere dreams can and must eventually die and be buried and be left behind as we journey forward. But dreams that become hope, we carry with us and treasure and hold them, especially when we encounter a Red Sea road. Another way of talking about God's dream for us is with this tree metaphor that you chose, Sandy, for a guiding image for this service. In the very DNA of a tiny seed that is planted in the ground is embedded God's dream, or God's hope for our lives. There's a pattern established in that seed that guides how that tree grows and develops, what it becomes. But identical seeds don't produce identical trees. There are many factors that shape what a tree becomes: the soil in which it is planted, the climate, the storms of life that bend, sometimes break and injure, external disease or attack by insect or animal or human. Same with us, I think. We hold on to God's hope for our lives by tending to the health of the tree, by pruning, by amending the soil, by protecting the roots from damage. Tending to the health of a tree is not a solo act. It's a collaboration. It's a partnership. There is reciprocity in this process. The parts of a tree are in dynamic mutual relationship with each other and with the environment. Think about the recent mudslides in California. On those hills and mountainsides, the roots of the trees and undergrowth drew from the soil, depended on the soil for their growth and well-being, but the soil also depended on that vegetation for its own structure and stability and survival. And all was well in that interplay until the wildfires, until the fire consumed the vegetation and the earth could not hold up when the rains came. Everything gave way, leaving destruction in its path because that reciprocity was broken. Jeremiah 17 promises blessing to the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Yahweh. That one will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. Life and strength come from healthy reciprocity. As Romans 11 puts it, if the root is holy, so are the branches. Sandy, if you are the tree in this metaphor, remember that you do not stand alone. Your licensing today is not about you being called out from this community of faith in some way that separates you from it. You're being called more deeply into community. God's work in this world, above all, is forming and empowering a people to live in this world in a different way, to bring about God's divine purposes in the world, to be a healing, saving, and reconciling people in the same way that God is a healing, saving, and reconciling God. So, Sandy, your work as a spiritual director, as a teacher, a mentor, is ultimately the work of leading in the spiritual formation of a people. Yes, you will focus your ministry of presence often on one person at a time. But your vocation now as a minister in the context of the church is to bring the resources of the Christian church to bear into each individual situation. It is to help each one find their place in a community of followers of Jesus, and thus to fulfill their calling as a Christian in community. You are helping trees discover their place in the forest and the ecosystem. If you expend all your spiritual and emotional energy taking care of individuals in isolation from each other, you might be acting as a good psychological coach or caregiver or counselor or chaplain or many other roles. And that's not bad. Those are good roles, but you won't necessarily be fulfilling your calling as a credentialed minister of the gospel who has been called and commissioned to serve the people of God. And you won't be able to fulfill your vocation if this licensing credential somehow sets you apart from this people as someone special or having a higher calling than other disciples of Christ. You will be an effective minister by being an exemplary disciple of Jesus yourself and inviting others to join you on that journey. That means knowing your boundaries and limitations as a human being and embracing those boundaries as a gift, even if some persons you work with might wish you could sometimes be a little superhuman and wave a spiritual wand or something and make their struggles disappear. But embracing your humanity as a minister means placing your own walk with Christ as the first order of business. It means taking care of the roots, which is a job for all of us, so that the roots can take care of you and us. So may you have the grace and courage to engage in that reciprocal work, and God bless you in that process.